right, good morning, everybody, to the All About Nothing podcast kind of daily show. Are you getting a little echo?
You sound soft, but no echoey.
Interesting. I'm getting a weird echo. I'm wondering what that's from. Let me see. All right, I'll live with it. All good.
All good.
This is the All About Nothing podcast kind of daily show. I am Barrett Gruber, host of the All About Nothing podcast with Zach King, and you can find me on social media at Barrett Gruber. With me is Bill Kimler, who is the host of Black, White, and Blue in the South with Dr. Jamil Brooks. You can follow him at Political Bill SC. We're recording here on a Thursday morning. How are you, Bill?
Good morning, Barrett. I'm doing super fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm always glad that you're super fantastic because that I think that what that does is that raises the bell curve on how I'm feeling.
All right. I love
We
to raise your bell.
did you and Dr. Jamil get to record your episode yet?
We did. So we had a 3-hour recording session Tuesday night.
Goodness.
And we did get an episode out yesterday, 12 hours late. Normally we drop it at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it didn't
Okay.
go out until 5 or 6 p.m. because it was such a close turnaround. It was fast and furious editing. And we only released part 1. So there's a huge part 2 coming this weekend because I can't wait to get it out. Yeah, we covered the 2-day budget debate in the South Carolina State House, and so we released our commentary on day 1.
Okay.
So day 2 is in the works, and day 2 is even wilder than day 1.
All right.
So I'm super excited. Barrett, you're going to hear things that you never thought you would have heard in a state house debate before. It's incredible. Your jaw is going to drop.
Well, I look forward to that. I Bill and I recorded last night.
A different Bill for those watching us.
Yes, correct. Bill Fry and I recorded last night. We talked a lot about the group text, or I guess we're calling it Signal Gate now. That we talked a lot about that, and just if you voted for Donald Trump, just
I think we're calling it Whiskey Leaks.
Is it Whiskey Leak? Oh, is that they've changed it already? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If you voted for Donald Trump, just understand from the perspective of people that didn't vote for Donald Trump, this is exactly what you voted for. There's no level of competence. There's likely no level of any sort of cognitive thinking that is going to result in positive, beneficial things, and we're just going to get a lot of stupid. And I think for some of us, we're kind of here to watch the shit show just all fall apart.
What amazes me is every other comment about this somehow brings Biden into the picture.
Oh yeah,
like he's either to blame, or if it were Biden, or something else. The mental gymnastics, the spinning plates that they all have in their hands, trying to balance and get these weird messages out to excuse this behavior.
Yeah,
it is utterly ludicrous.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed for them.
Where's the one Republican that stands up and says, "Nope, this was absolute bullshit"? Where is he? Where is she? Where are they?
Let's see. The ones that I would expect something out of would probably be like the Murkowskis. We no longer have a Mitt Romney in office, so he's not there to speak up. We don't obviously have John McCain. I don't know that there really is anyone in the Republican Party anymore that would potentially be that voice of holy shit. I mean, even what's the gentleman from Ohio? I can't remember. He's on CNN or MSNBC all the time. Either way, yeah. No, I think that the MAGA wing has pushed uh, has pushed the intelligent Republicans in Congress out, and this is what's left. I don't know.
It is.
We also talked about democratic messaging and where ChatGPT thinks that the Democrats need to focus their messaging on, and how to make some changes. So that episode will come out on April 4th, 5th, whatever that Monday is.
Well, I
So
look forward to it.
yeah. There was I guess I'm excited today because as
Yeah,
of
you look
today,
it. I could
base,
just see you're just brimming with enthusiasm and excitement.
baseball season starts today, baby.
Oh, oh, I am not a baseball fan, Barrett. That's not my
opening
sport.
opening day, Braves at San Diego, which means that I will be almost useless for a very important one-on-one meeting with my project director tomorrow in person.
Hey, just wake me up when the World Series starts, all right? I'll see you in
Okay.
October.
Oh, uh, I wish I could do that. I wish that I could hibernate until next year, or
That's
well,
what
October.
baseball is hibernation. It is the slowest of every sport out there. It has more games than any other sport out there.
Yeah,
Nobody needs 190 games to figure out who should move on to the playoffs.
I can't defend that. I have there's no defense. I completely agree that baseball season is absurdly long. That
Any game where you can legitimately bring a book with you to read and still not miss the action on the field while you're reading, that is not a sport. That is compelling, I should say. I'm not saying they're not talented and throwing a ball, hitting the ball, okay, that's got skills involved, and there are brief flashes of excitement in an otherwise 3-hour long event.
yeah,
But
I
I,
can
I
see that.
can't bring a book to an NFL game or
That's
or even
true.
NHL or basketball. I can bring a book and read it and be completely into it during baseball.
See, for me, the it isn't so baseball for me. Sorry, my air conditioner pops on. Baseball for me is I watch it not necessarily for the hitting, but more for the pitching. I enjoy watching the cat and mouse game between the pitcher and the batter, and what strategy is the pitcher going is the team going to use to try and strike out this batter, or how are they going to try and maneuver or manipulate the runners of the opposing team. And so that for me is because having played baseball for years and years, that is sort of uh, uh, where I get the enjoyment out of it. So I can sit
I
there
see
and
you used to
watch.
play for the Braves. When was
Oh,
that?
oh, that was never.
Never.
It was a quarter past never. Um, but yeah, that's where I always seem to enjoy it. One of the users in TikTok said that curling is more exciting than baseball for him, and
Possibly. Possibly,
I can
yeah,
see it.
yeah. I, I
I can
I
see it.
I will be flipping through the channels in a hotel room and end up on ESPN 17
With
during a
darts.
curling tournament, and I will stop and watch. So whoever wrote that is 100% accurate. I am just fascinated. I can't blink. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I can the ESPN this weekend. I think they had the World Championship darts, and I flashed over to it and I thought to myself for like half a second. I said is there a possibility that I could potentially be interested in this? And I found I wasn't. So moved moved right on very quickly. I had a story. Unless you had something you want to start with.
No, I am
Okay.
agenda free today. It is all yours.
All right. So this is I think a a situation, a story that out of Georgia, and you may have already heard this one, but a 24-year-old woman in Tifton, Georgia, was arrested by police after they found a fetus in an apartment complex dumpster. EMS responded to the Brookfield Mew apartment complex around 6 a.m. on March 20th, finding the woman unconscious and bleeding. She had suffered a miscarriage and was transported to the Tift Regional Medical Center for treatment. A witness reported seeing the woman placing a fetus in a bag and disposing of it in the dumpster. She has been charged with concealment of a death and abandonment of a body, and she is still in custody. So if you know about, and of course, we have a 6 week ban on abortion here in South Carolina as well, that the investigation and the defense of this woman is she is going to have to prove in order to stay outside or not be charged in the abortion ban law, she has to make, or her defense has to make every attempt, or they have to prove she didn't cause her own miscarriage. don't have a lot of details on, how far along she was, anything like that. She is still in custody. This happened again like on March 20th. Um, Georgia doesn't currently criminally charge after a miscarriage if it can be proven that there was no detectable heartbeat prior to the miscarriage. And if it is proven that this woman didn't self induce her miscarriage, then she won't be charged under the 6 week
So
abortion
did you
ban.
notice how you're the word you're using? It's like she has to prove
Yeah,
her innocence, which is an upside down version of what American justice is supposed to be. It's like
correct.
the burden of proof should be the opposite.
Yep.
And right, you're telling me the story, and my heart is just absolutely breaking for this woman because obviously she was alone when this all went down. And I could be proven wrong because I don't know the details, but it sounds like she was on her own. It sounds like she may not have been educated in the medical field in terms of pregnancy and what to do. She was faced with a very scary situation,
Yeah.
and she obviously didn't know how to react, or maybe she just had a mental break from reality as she was going through a very traumatic situation. And, and right now, this is a woman who needs immediate medical treatment and mental treatment, mental health treatment. She needs counseling. She
Yeah.
needs somebody to be with her, not in a jail cell. This is an absolutely tragic story on 100 levels.
Yeah.
And to right now to say, well, now she has to prove her innocence in this. She has to prove there was no detectable heartbeat. She has to prove this miscarriage was natural when just about every pregnant woman on the earth has miscarried at some point in their life. I've gone through with my ex-wife 3 miscarriages. It is an absolutely horrid system of justice that is so bent against the pregnant mother.
Yeah.
Set aside the abortion debate. Just even if you wanted the child, it is stacked against you.
Yeah.
Terrible.
There's a lot of pieces of this story that when I initially read it, that the circumstances of how everything played out. So the fact that there was a witness who saw her put the fetus in a bag and then put it into the trash can. That immediately tells me that this is a pregnancy that was past 25 weeks, because anything past 25 weeks, the size of the fetus is growing and growing. This is not someone to me who, uh, just based on the circumstances, I in my gut, I don't feel like this is a woman who caused her own abortion. That this is someone that wasn't willing and wanting to carry this child to term. And so it also reads as though this is an socioeconomic issue as well. The fact that she didn't seek medical attention when she absolutely needed it, the fact that she was basically abandoned, and that she had no other choice, and when the EMS found her, she was unconscious and bleeding. So everything about this reads to me as she is, and again, don't have all the information, don't know everything that happened, but I know that if it's not her, that it's someone else. And this is a situation that is going to continue to play out, especially as we continue to see the middle class and the poor drop in the socio value of the billionaires, and the we're all going to see these lower class and middle class get left further and further behind. The cost of healthcare is going to continue to explode, and we're going to see situations like this exactly, where a woman can't even afford to bring herself to a hospital or call for an ambulance out of fear for what it's going to cost, and just think, I'll make this work, and then this happens. It's I can't I can't I this is the result of just absolute sickening poor legislation. And we live in the
Well,
richest
now that
country
you've
in the
gone and
world.
depressed the snot out of me and everybody watching, I hope you got
How
some
about that
uplifting
Thursday?
news. I hope you got something uplifting to share with us.
Okay.
That was sad.
Sorry. It's a soapbox. It's one of these things that I really feel that people need to understand the impact that these laws are going to have. A woman's having a miscarriage in Georgia, and there's a possibility that in her head she thought, they're going to try, if I don't try and get myself through this all by myself, they're going to potentially try and make this my fault, or they're going to, and now she's in jail. And I think this is a story that is going to wind up playing out over and over across all of these red states where these abortion laws are just absurd. Anyway, your sirs.
Wow. Absolutely terrible.
So you had something.
I did?
Yeah, you said you had something. Or was it just the depression working its way in?
No, no. I was saying I had nothing today. I come to you
Oh,
a blank slate, Mr. Gruber.
I
Pete Hegseth has stopped texting me. He is.
has he?
I've been kicked out of the chat room, and so I've got no new inside information that
I
has
am
come our way.
I am shocked by the response to the whole situation with, what are we calling it? Whiskey Gate?
No,
Whiskey, what was it?
Whiskey leaks. Remember, like
Whiskey leaks.
WikiLeaks? Whiskey leaks.
Whiskey leaks. Um it
What was amazing is that they actually brought a bunch of high-ranking officials, members who were in that chat group,
yeah.
in front of senators and congresspersons to be questioned and to watch our director of intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, fumfer her way through. The fact that you learn more that this wasn't just an oops, we accidentally invited the wrong person. Now it comes out that you could only put this app Signal on personal devices. Like government issued devices won't even allow this app to be installed, which means that every damn person on that group text was using an unsecured personal phone, Barrett.
It's insane.
Unsecured personal phone. They could have been using their iPhone or their Android or their somebody could have had a BlackBerry. You don't know who's on this group.
Yeah.
And they were unsecured, and one of the members was actually freaking in Moscow meeting
Yeah.
with Putin during these text exchanges. So you know his entire phone had already been tapped. So you want to sit there and these idiots want to complain about the journalist who reported this, or this was just a simple mistake and everybody has done it. Fine. What about all this other stuff that they're not mentioning, which any other administration, that entire group of people would be gone.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's it's
Defend it.
insane.
Defend it, you idiots. Let's go. Defend
Well,
what just happened.
Mike Waltz came out. It sounds like he's going to be the one to fall on the sword, and I think the likelihood is that he will probably resign. I think some of my shock is over the fact that they seem to have just based it, because I assume you've read through the text feed, the back and forth.
I
Um,
did.
there is one of the things that pops out in my head is how little it seems that they were letting the president know what was going on. Like in my head, this is something that the president should be involved in, but there seemed to be a concerted effort to leave him out of it, unless
Right.
it was just very specific information that JD Vance was going to let him know, or Hegseth was going to let him know. It strikes to
No,
me
he's
as,
irrelevant to the
yeah,
decision making at this point,
yeah,
right? He's completely irrelevant. They know that. Everybody knows he's not mentally capable of having these conversations. And every time he's asked, "Did you know this occurred?" He doesn't know anything
yeah,
occurred. He is left out of the loop. He is not running the country. He's only in his second month, third month, and he is checked out.
yeah,
He's gone. He's playing golf. He's perfectly. He's going to sporting events. He's just interested in getting crowd applause, but
yeah.
he's not part of any decision making. He's out.
So why why is it that we're not hearing that from the left more, as far as like MSNBC,
But I am
CNN's?
hearing it. This
Oh,
is
you
where
are.
I get pissed.
Okay.
I get pissed whenever anybody wants to talk about messaging or why aren't the Democrats X, Y, and Z, I can immediately pull up 10 clips showing they are saying it.
Well, that's
And
good.
I'm sorry if you're checked out and you're not watching and you're not paying attention, but it's not the Democrats' fault. They're making this message just like you think I've invented these points on my own?
Oh yeah, no,
You
no,
think
no,
I'm that clever? No, I'm hearing this myself and
no.
relaying it to you.
Yeah, no, it's not that the Democrats in Congress or the leaders are checked out. Well, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. These two are individuals that have absolutely no shame in showing just how little interest they have in actually legislating in
Just a
a
little diversion
progressive
here.
party.
Many years ago, I lived in, this would have been about 2008, maybe. I lived in Binghamton, New York, a small city in central New York, very small.
Yeah,
And there was a St. Patrick's Day parade, the biggest parade in town, a lot of Irish people in Binghamton. And Chuck Schumer was the marshal of the parade. So he came all the way from the city. We're 3 hours outside the city, mostly in farm country. He comes out and leads the parade. I'm not really into politics. I barely knew who Chuck Schumer was, even though I was a New Yorker. So I'm seeing this old guy just marching down the parade. Well, one of the audience members rushes into the middle of the street, gets right in front of Chuck Schumer and flips the middle finger right in front of his face. Like, this is 2008. Okay. This is like way long ago. And security and police, tackled the guy. But I have to imagine he has been through quite a lot of shit in his
yeah,
years of crazy people coming after him. Now, I'm not saying that excuses anything that he's done or said or voted on these past couple of months, but I can just remember that's how I remember him.
yeah. Chuck, old Chucky boy is too willing to hand over any power he has. I just feel like Chuck Schumer is not the minority leader that the Senate, the Democrats need. I think that Nancy Pelosi resigns from her
All right, so let me
leadership.
ask you this. When the Republicans were the minority just a year ago, who was their minority Senate leader?
That was a year ago. Hold on, I guess it would have been what's his name? Um, Wait, a year ago?
Yeah, before the
It was
election,
just a
right?
year ago.
Before the election, the Democrats had control of the Senate. So who was the Republican Senate minority leader? You know who it is.
Oh well, it was the dude that was the Speaker of the House, right? He
No, Speaker of the House is the House. This is the Senate.
Oh, the Senate. Oh yeah, Mitch McConnell. Sorry.
Mitch McConnell, right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting here complaining about old Chuck.
Oh, I know.
You had Chuck's grandfather, Mitch McConnell, who was the Senate majority leader for the
Yeah.
Republicans. And then they went and won the election anyway. So, whatever complaint it is we have about the Democrats, remember the Republicans put up 100 times worse
Oh yeah.
and were able to eke out an election.
Yeah.
So I'm
No, my
not going to sit here and say that you get the right charismatic individual or the right message, you're going to win. There's something deeper than that, something much, much deeper.
yeah, no, my complaint wasn't about the Democratic leadership as far as their messaging. It is our media that is capitulating with while they are reporting on the story, while they acknowledging the fact that something dumb really happened. It doesn't feel like they are going after the administration and his whole cabinet that was involved in this. It doesn't feel like they're going after the story in the way that was always being pushed on Biden and Harris. Like
I
there
don't
was.
I don't agree with that at all.
You
I
think
don't
you
agree.
think the media is being fair
I,
in it?
I think they're going after it just great. There
Okay.
was a great clip recently, just yesterday, where Marjorie Taylor Greene is being interviewed by a reporter from the UK,
I did
saying,
see that.
talking about this incident with whiskey leaks. And Marjorie just snaps at her. What country are you from? She
Yeah.
says, I'm from the UK. Well, nobody cares what the UK thinks. You have your own migrant problems, and I'm not going to take any questions from you. And she was just absolutely rude and insulting to this international journalist. Well, she says, are there any American journalists? I'll answer questions from them. So American journalists gets called on, and he says, Congresswoman, I would like an answer to that other journalist question.
Yeah,
Like, completely backed her up and made her look bad. And then that's when Marjorie Taylor Greene started going off on Biden, right? Like, I'm not going to talk
yeah,
about whiskey leaks. We're going to talk about Joe Biden's issues. So I do see the American press. Heck, even Peter Ducey, who is he,
yeah.
from Fox
He's
News,
he's
right?
pushed
He
back.
stands up in the White House and calls bullshit to the press secretary or whatever her name is. So I do see the media rising up, and I'm not seeing where you're not seeing that.
I guess when I say I'm not seeing it, I'm not seeing the type of fervent like reporting that I'd like to see. Yes, but see, I feel like in some situations it's sort of a safe zone because having been a reporter, having been in situations, having to ask questions of uh, politicians and things like that, it feels like they know they're not going to get answers out of the press secretary for the White House. They know they're not going to get answers out of Marjorie Taylor Greene. So it's almost like, yes, they're making a show of it. They're asking questions, knowing that it's just going to cause a scene. But that scene is specifically what their supporters want to see. They're the MAGA wing, the
Okay,
ultra
so what should they do?
Republicans.
Not ask questions then?
I think that what they should do is they should pose their questions in a way that are more in line with forcing them to answer a question. So, rather than asking them what is the president's response on such and such, say, can we
Well,
assume
how
the
about
president?
questions like I've heard, "Hey, President Trump, did you know?"
No,
And he says, "I didn't know," and
right,
then that
but I'm
becomes front page news. I
but I
mean,
think that
it,
they
it
should ask questions in a way that pose that we already know what the assumption is that they're unwilling to say. So rather than say, what is the president's response? Say, can we assume the president's response is he's perfectly either okay with this or that he has no idea what's going on? Go ahead and ask the questions in a way that answer that either force them to lie to us outright or answer the question that we want to hear. So, like I said, I would say, can we assume by the fact that the president hasn't made any response to this that he either has no idea what's going on or that he is perfectly
so
that he
your
is perfectly in
proposition
line.
is if they just reworded their questions
Yeah.
differently, it would be more effective. And I'm saying that that is not a line of thinking I can back you up on.
No, and that's
I
fine.
don't think that there's a magic order of words that's going to suddenly persuade the MAGA world that this is wrong.
No,
I
I
think
know.
they got on record Hegseth saying no classified information was released in this signal text.
And
And
then yeah,
then they went and published what was actually said. And you're like, oh, hell yeah, that's classified stuff.
yeah,
And now they're forced into like they can't even come out and be mad at the journalist for publishing it. Like normally you would say, how dare they publish classified information? But if they did that, then they would be admitting there was classified information. So they're
right.
stuck in this catch 22. And I thought that was brilliant. That to me was the Atlantic baiting them and getting exactly the results that they wanted because they knew the lies were predictable.
Yeah,
And it just continued to fuel the fire of this story. He didn't come out with that all in the first minute. He held that back,
yeah.
waited for them to make the claims,
Oh yeah,
then released more information. That was brilliant journalism. This is where I'm not backing you up in your proposition.
that's
I'm
okay.
thinking they are attacking with all guns firing,
I just
and this whole thing has lasted a week longer than it should have because the leadership is just so incompetent in their lies
yeah,
that they keep fueling this story and perpetuating it further.
yeah. No, I think my frustration really just comes from the fact that from this administration, from these Republican leadership, individuals that seem to be pushing this MAGA crowd in a direction or being led by the MAGA crowd.
Your frustration is with the MAGA crowd that despite the media
Yeah,
coverage,
you're
despite
not
every
wrong.
headline telling you what's going on, that they are sticking their heads in the sand, or that they're just going to excuse it away, or that these people can do no wrong in their eyes, can do
Yeah,
nothing wrong. That's where your anger needs to be, not towards
the
democratic
media.
messaging, not towards the media, not asking the question with the right magic words. It's the people not getting their message
Yeah.
and or refusing to accept reality.
No,
That's
I
where the
agree with
anger
you.
is.
I agree with you. I'm dumbfounded how people that seem to be able to live a life day by day, moving through the system and at least existing, cannot. look at all of the evidence and come to an educated conclusion about
The question
just
is, do you
how
think that
miserable that this is going to make them.
inside they know what's going on? Inside they know this was horrific, but just externally they can't say it? Or do you think they've even internalized the excuse and truly will throw themselves into a fire to defend that point of view?
I
What do you
think there's
think
a
the reality is?
I think there's a percentage of them that do. I think there's a percentage of them that do recognize it
Okay,
and just continue to
point zero
maintain their
zero
lies.
one percent is a percentage. So
It's
what percentage do you think it is? That's an important question. Is it 99% do or is it 1% do?
I'm gonna say it's probably somewhere in the 30% range. That
That's a
you think
shame.
it's lower?
Well, I can't argue with that
Yeah,
number. I mean, that number is as good as most others, but it is a shame that 70% then completely believe the lie.
yeah. And what's crazy to me is I'm one of those people that actually will look at every single potential and try and determine what is the probability best outcome. So like if I'm getting a load of information, I will look at it from almost every angle I can look at it to try and determine what side in my opinion is most likely right. And in this situation, my mother wants you to know that you are so right.
Oh, thank you, Mom.
um,
I am up for adoption if you ever want to swap out sons. I'm here for you. I'm here. I could be a fill-in son. You know, like baseball has pinch hitters. I can be a pinch son. Let's do
yeah,
it.
but I think 30% is probably as close as it's going to get as far as there are those that are just that I think 30% of these MAGA are just so entrenched that they will acknowledge, or they in their heads they'll understand that is what is going on is not right, and what is happening is something that needs to be changed and go in a better direction. But then there's that other 60% that just sees it
Good
and they're
70.
like 70, thank you.
Yeah, just, I know it's Thursday morning math. I'm just helping you out there, bro.
Yeah, uh, it's 70% that are just, they can't see past the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
They enjoy the show so much that they think this is how my mother says you've been adopted. um they're they're they are so, they enjoy the show so much, and they think that is so triggering to the opposition of them.
To this day, they're out there texting right now.
Yeah.
So much winning.
Oh yeah.
So much winning. They're winning. Barrett, did you not know that? Everything they're doing is 4D chess.
Here's a perfect example of your winning, and this is what we'll wrap it up on. The Panama Canal ports at both ends, the Atlantic and the Pacific side, are now owned and operated, or in the transition phase of being operated by what is the company? Black
BlackRock?
Black. What is it again?
BlackRock?
BlackRock.
Black. Yeah.
So, uh, and this was something that was deemed to have been a huge American win because BlackRock, an American company, now is operating the ports uh, at the Panama Canal. BlackRock's shareholdings are no longer in the United States. All of their money is held offshore. They have very little besides maybe real estate and some facilities, some functionality here in the United States. But for the most part, they are an international company now because, taxes. Um, that does not strike me as a win for the United States. That does not strike me as something that is. We did not overthrow the Panamanians and now take over. Now operate. Their facility. It's not an American run
Well, Barrett,
facility.
prices of eggs have just plummeted as a result, and the grass is greener in my lawn as a result, and my hair is now thicker as a
Yeah,
result. All these good things have come, so I don't know why you're just a hater. You must have Trump derangement syndrome.
I do
That's
have
your
tape.
problem.
I do have technically purely out of the definition of this unbelievable, fantastic diagnosis that's supposed to be coming out of the Health and Human Services. I do apparently have Trump derangement syndrome.
Well, I'm going to plug just the first 5 minutes of our latest episode of Black, White, and Blue
Please
in the
do.
South, because we talk about a Minnesota lawmaker who submitted a bill to formally define Trump derangement syndrome as a mental illness.
Yeah.
And he wanted to bake that into law. So we cover a shocking twist to that story in our first 5 minutes of our episode. So take a listen to it now, available on your favorite podcast app.
As Black, White, and Blue in the South. Go check out Black, White, and Blue in the South. All right. That is going to wrap it up for this morning's back and forth between Bill and I, where we fought some.
And I want mom to listen to that episode and report back to me. Otherwise, I'm going to have to fire her as mom. So I want her to listen.
Well, on that shocking bombshell, it's going to wrap it up. Big thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to follow me at Barrett Gruber and at Bill, or Bill at Political Bill SC. You can catch us live every Tuesday and Thursday, 5:30 morning, a.m. Eastern, because apparently we don't know how to sleep. Hey, good news. We haven't talked about it, but the astronauts are back on the
Yay.
planet. And
despite Biden's best efforts to keep them trapped up there, who knows why his evil plans wanted them not to come home. Despite all that effort, they were able to get them to escape. They rescued them. They went in guns a-blazing and got those people out of there. So good for them.
Just until next time, you all stay safe, be kind, and remember that it was Biden's administration's plan to bring the astronauts home literally on the day that they came back. So, not Trump. All right, everybody, you all be good, stay safe, be kind, and keep your hands to yourself.